Yo, what's happening, everybody? We are back with another episode of Progress Report. This is actually episode number 18. Actually, no, I think it's episode 17, but it's the 18th week since we started this whole thing. For those of you who know, I took a week off because it was just getting a little bit hectic there for a bit. But we are back, and it's the end of this entire album run. I've been putting out an album for 18 weeks, and it started with a single called Jokes on You. And for the backstory for anyone who is new to the channel, I'm Nomad222. I'm a hip-hop artist and spoken word artist. I'm an event producer, content creator, and father of four, most importantly. And I've been releasing my album, the Nomadic Deluxe, or re-releasing the album on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and all of that. But I've been doing this thing called a waterfall release, which means that every single week I'm dropping a new track from the album as singles until the entire album is out. So 18 weeks, I've been dropping single after single, and now the entire project is out on every single platform. You can go find it for yourself, stream it, run it up. And I've been selling it on Even Though Biz as well, and we might even get into, how that's looking too. But this all started with an album, and what I've been doing with this series is tracking the analytics and how this album release and this format affects my growth as an artist and as a person on social media, right? So the main things that I've been tracking are the Spotify metrics, the Apple Music metrics, and my social media engagement and things like that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I feel now that this whole thing is over. I've also got something from Apple Music. It's called the Replay 24. It's some sort of highlight reel, but I'm going to screen capture it and share it with you guys and have a reaction to it so that you guys can see how I feel about that whole thing. But we're going to talk a little bit after. But first, as usual, for those returning, we're going to get into these metrics. So the first thing we always start off with is the Spotify monthly listeners. And of course, in week one on the 8th of August, 2024, we started off with 51 monthly listeners. And I set a goal for myself that I want to hit 4 million monthly listeners eventually. Not after this album. I didn't think it was possible within this time frame to get that many within this 18-week period. But we started off with 51, and I wanted to hit 4 million monthly listeners. That's a goal for me because I know the math behind it. I know how much revenue that equates to, and that's a figure that I've set for myself, because that means if I've hit that, then I can quit my job and do music full-time, content creation full-time, and all of that. And that's my eventual goal, right? So we started off with 51 monthly listeners. I'm sad to say that in the past 7 days, we've had another dip in monthly listeners. So the highest number that we've hit during this entire run was 1,015, and that was in week 14. 4 weeks later, we're sitting at 727 monthly listeners, which is a little bit disheartening, but at the same time, the streams are still going up, the content engagement is still going up, so I'm trying to stay positive about that. But for those of you who are watching this, please keep running up my music, add it to your playlist, share it around, let everyone know, because I promise you there's a bunch more music coming next year. I've got a single dropping at the end of this month. That's an inside scoop for you guys who are watching this right now. No one else has known that. I'm not going to announce it on platforms until it's out and the video is up, all of that. But for those of you who are watching, I got something dropping on the 27th of December. So yeah, that's just an inside scoop for you guys. Next metric is Spotify total streams. We started this journey with 5,632, and now we are sitting at 15,311 streams. So about 10,000 streams within this period that we started this. So thank you again to everybody who's been running it up. Spotify followers, we lost another follower, but we started with 173 followers. Last week we were at 209, and now we're at 208. The most we've ever had is 212. So that's a little bit crazy, a little bit weird, but just something to make note of. Spotify playlist ads. So we started this with 280 playlist ads, and now we're at 908. We're very close to 1,000. That's going to be cool when we hit that metric. So, I'm going to be doing this every week, regardless of the fact that this release plan is done. So hopefully we hit that in the coming weeks. Apple Music, let's talk about that. So Apple Music monthly listeners, the highest we've ever had is 4, which was last week, and now we're at 3 monthly listeners. That's still okay. We've averaged 2 for majority of this journey, this process, but we can live with 3. Again, Apple Music's not my prime platform. However, for those of you who have been watching, I've been stressing to you guys that Apple Music pays artists more fairly than Spotify. So Apple Music per stream gives a lot more revenue from each stream to the artist than Spotify does. So just something to keep in mind if you want to make that switch. If you're on iOS, it's just as good as Spotify. I would even say it's a little bit better, but just something to keep in mind. Anyway, Apple Music total streams, we're at 8,099, and we started this with 7,500. So it's been a much slower burn than Spotify, but again, we've only got three monthly listeners compared to 727 on Spotify. So yeah, now let's talk about the social media accounts that I have. So the 3 accounts I have are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's what I'm tracking, at least. Instagram followers, we are at 4,095. Again, we started this journey with 4,111, but we've been through a bit of a filtering process and trying to get rid of people who aren't really aligned with what we're building here and what we're trying to do as a community. And that's fine. We want that drop off. So now we're at 4,095, and I feel like that's 4,095 people who really mess with what I'm trying to create and what I'm putting out to the world. So thank you again, especially if you're watching. You're probably one of these followers. TikTok followers, we're at 5,430, and we started this with 5,224. So that's a much bigger margin of growth compared to Instagram. YouTube subscribers, again, just a couple weeks ago, we passed that 500 mark. I'm so happy about that. I've had this account for nearly 10 years, and the fact that we passed 500, and now we're witnessing the biggest growth that I've had in this entire time. So we started this at 467 subscribers, and it took us up until week 15 to hit 501 subscribers, and now we're already at 536 subscribers. So it's kind of like we hit that 500 mark, and now we're witnessing some kind of tremendous growth. So to everyone who's been watching the shorts recently, much love to you for leaving comments, liking, sharing around, and all of that. To everyone who hit that subscribe button, I can't explain to you how much that means to me, because I've said it in multiple videos before. I want that play button. I'm trying to get that play button so I can display it, so I can do it for the community one time. And if we get that play button, I just feel like it'd be such a cool thing. I know that 500 is still a long way away from hitting that play button, but just putting it out there, we got to manifest this stuff so that it happens. The universe will deliver, right? So that's how YouTube's looking. But I want to talk about the engagement rate. So talking about the engagement rate, I have my friend ChatGPT helping me out, and it gets a little bit more in depth than just, numbers and stuff this time, because that's one thing. I've been giving you guys percentages for the engagement rate of all of these platforms and stuff, but it's just an empty number to most people who don't understand what actually goes into it. So the way that you calculate your engagement rate is you find the percentage of, so you have your views, right? So you might have a couple thousand views, but you need to find a percentage of how many of those views lead to an interaction, which is your comments, your shares, your likes, things like that, right? So people might view, but they might not interact with your post. So this percentage is based on how many of those views actually result in an interaction. So sorry, that was a bit of a long-winded way of explaining it. That's the first time I try to explain it. But anyway, starting off with Instagram. Last week we had 3.6% engagement rate, which was the highest engagement rate that we've had in a very long time on Instagram. This week, unfortunately, it's dipped down to 2.55%, which is slightly below the average for Reels. At between 3 to 6% is the average on Instagram, but the reach is very strong. So we had 33,941 views on Instagram this week. So it's not too bad that, we've got that reach, but I need people that that I'm reaching to start engaging with it. You know, let me know if you like or dislike my music. I don't care. Just engage with the content so the algorithm can push it to the people who do like what I'm putting out. But yeah, that's comments, shares, and likes and all of that. TikTok, we hit 6.95%, and that is the highest engagement rate we've had on TikTok this entire time. So yeah, 6.95%, which is an excellent engagement rate for TikTok, because the range for the average is between 4 to 8%. However, the views on TikTok are relatively low. So we did 3,842 views. So yeah, it's less views, less reach, but the community is engaging. You guys are engaging with the content. So if you're on TikTok, thank you for being a friend, you know, Golden Girls. But yeah, that's how it's looking on TikTok. YouTube, the performance is below average, which is crazy to me. Because I have to say, I've been experiencing a large amount of views on YouTube on my shorts. So I've been getting a lot more new views, a lot more reach on YouTube for the first time. You know, this is the first week during this entire thing where I've kind of averaged over 100 views. I think we hit 6,712 views, which is decent on shorts. It could be higher, but it's the highest that I've had during this entire period for a 7-day period. So yeah, 1.52 engagement rate is below average. The average is 3 to 5%. So it's just something that I'm gonna have to work on. I have to figure that out. Why exactly is that a difference on YouTube compared to the other platforms? But we'll give it time. We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's crazy to say that that's the end of the project. I'm going to be re-releasing the album in its entirety with the final cover art. So that's another thing. Every week, every single has had its own individual cover art. And Takeoff, you know, we just did with the one, and that came out last Friday. Had its own cover art, but tomorrow we're dropping the album with the final cover art, which is you know, the photography was done by my boy Brendan Mirabito, so shout out to Brendan, and just made up by myself and curated by myself. But 17 different cover arts, alternative cover arts, and the final cover art over an 18-week period. It's the biggest project that I've done to date. And I'm just so happy that it's going to be back out there to the world. And I'm so glad that, you know, for the most part, I feel like this has been a much more successful outing than the first time that I released it. So for those of you who don't know, I already released this album in a single package like 2 to 3 years ago. And when I released it, you know, I was very adamant that this is my baby. This is everything you need to know about me as a man up until this point. And I released it when I was like 23 years old. Now I'm 27, just turned 27 this past October. I know so much more about the world. And, you know, that first time around, I felt like this album was very slept on, very underrated, and just flew under the radar. People weren't tuning in. People didn't understand it. People weren't giving it the time of day. But this time around, you know, through spreading it out and giving each single a chance to shine and an opportunity to be spotlighted, I feel like it's been able to hit home with a lot more people. I feel like I know how to continually promote it from this point forward. So it's not just out there and it's done now. You know, it's out there and it's going to be out there forever. And I'm going to keep pushing this because this is important to me. But on top of that, I'm not going to stop creating new stuff and just rely on this and just wait for this to blow up, because I don't have to. I'm in the process of building a catalog and building a library so that people that come across me for the first time on these social media platforms that we're trying to grow, they're going to see something for the first time and be like, hey, I've never heard of this dude before. I want to check his stuff out. And then they go and check my stuff out, and I've got 80 to 100 singles out. this project alone, 17 singles, puts me 17 singles ahead of where I was at the start of the year. Because again, going back to last year, I rebranded from Nomad to Nomad222. It was just a point of difference that I had to make for multiple reasons. The 222 angel number had become so significant to me in my life and where I'm at as a man on my journey that I felt like it was fitting to incorporate it. But at the same time, Nomad was just a moniker that, of course, it's Damon backwards for those of you who weren't aware. But Nomad was a name that I chose, and for the past couple of years, I've been struggling with because there's so many other artists out there in the world also named Nomad, and they don't make the kind of music that I make, but yet their music was showing up on my artist profiles on all of these platforms, and it was getting confused. And I don't have a big enough stature to call up Spotify and Apple Music and be like, hey, that's not my music. Make sure that their music's not getting distributed to my profile and my music's not going to their profile and things like that, if that makes sense. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's why I rebranded. I rebranded last year, and that meant that all of my old music kind of stayed in the past, right? And I wanted to leave it there in the past. I wanted to leave it there and let it lie. Like that was a beginning for me. That was training camp. That was my high school era, right? You know, I'm thinking about basketball. I'm thinking about NBA, right? So my goal is to make it to the NBA. I had already done my high school campaign, and now I was stepping into what I refer to as my college campaign. Or some people might even joke and say that it's like my G League campaign. But anyway, that's what I was stepping into. I needed to leave the high school campaign in the past. It's over, it's done. We didn't win nationals. We didn't win the championship in high school, but now we're at the collegiate level. We need to move forward. But a part of me was like, you know, I just dropped this dope album that I'm still really proud about despite the reception. And I'm not comfortable with leaving it in the past like that. I want it to be a part of me for as far as I go. Anything before that, that can stay there. That's fine. Like, it was a learning lesson. We were practicing. We were still developing our skills. That's fine. It can stay there. And if people find it, they find it. But that's not me anymore. Everything on the Nomadic is still me, and that will probably remain me until I'm long gone after this life. So I needed to figure out a way to do this, and that's why we've been doing this entire time, 18 weeks. And I just feel like I'm so much more knowledgeable about how to release a project and promote a project than I was compared to, you know, when I first did it. Anyway, I kind of waffled on there for a little bit. I tend to do that with these videos, but I'm so proud of this project, and I'm so proud that everyone who has just jumped on board or just engaged with this project for the very first time are resonating with it and are adding it to playlists and everything like that, adding it to their own content and things like that. So I can't thank you guys enough for the confidence that you've instilled in me during this entire period. It means more than you can fucking imagine or fathom. Like, I've had so much self-doubt over my entire career, and so many things have, you know, pushed me over the edge at times and made me feel like I'm not good enough to be here and I'm not good enough to do this. My voice isn't profound enough and my words don't resonate enough with people for me to justify doing this and taking time away from my family. Because that's honestly the biggest sacrifice that I have, is the fact that, you know, I have to sacrifice so much time with my growing kids. My eldest daughter's about to turn 7 next month. That's insane to me. I didn't really have a purpose in this music thing until my partner told me that she was pregnant. That's the whole reason why I created The News, the song that I have on this album, The News, was to talk about that experience and where I finally had purpose in my music. And now she's about to be 7 years old, and I'm still at the beginning of this journey. I'm still trying to figure out all the ways to promote and get my music out to the masses and actually be able to be a full-time artist. And it's incredibly difficult when you don't feel like people are receiving your music the way you intended. But this release format, the way that we've done it this time around, I can say that after 18 weeks, it's incredibly validating. It's extremely incredible to me. And I can't tell you how grateful I am in words. It's too difficult. So thank you so much. It really does mean the world. And let's just continue to keep moving. And on that note, there is something that I want to show you, and I'll show you in a minute. But first of all, let's go back to this Apple Music thing. I'm going to click play on the highlight reel right now, and we can watch it together. Okay. So this is the replay of 2024 on Apple Music. Again, Apple Music is not my primary platform at the moment. My audience is 3 monthly listeners right now, so I'm not expecting that this is going to be incredibly detailed or anything like that. But let's just see. Okay. Total minutes played, 2,056 total minutes played by 174 listeners across 24 countries. That's pretty cool. Top played song. Fans played one of your songs again and again. Life and Times. Okay. Shout out to Antoine. Shout out to Spell. Kobe. Top cities. Melbourne, Brisbane. Oh, out of 87 cities worldwide, this city's fans couldn't get enough. Melbourne. 269 plays in Melbourne. Top Shazam song. Shazam? 47 times on Shazam. That's how many times they were discovered. This song sparked the most interest. Doves Cry. Okay. Yep. Shout out to Hids. Minutes, songs, cities, Shazam. 2,056 minutes played. Life and Times top played song. Top city, Melbourne. Oh yeah, that's just a recap of the whole thing. Cool. All right. That was cool. I'm not going to lie. That was a little bit underwhelming. I'm going to be honest. That was a little bit underwhelming. But again, like I said, Apple Music's not my top platform. It's still cool to see that in that format. Given the fact that, you know, it's less than a handful of people that I'm talking to. Less than a handful of people that, you know, on that platform. Anyway. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but shout out to everyone listening on Apple Music. Let's talk about the future and what we have moving forward. So I'm going to put up on the screen another spreadsheet you guys are going to see of my plan for 2025. And I think I might have touched on this before, but this might be the first time that I'm actually breaking it down for you guys. So my plan for 2025 is to release 2 songs a month. So 1 song every fortnight for the entire year. That's 24 songs, right? And I've been working closely with, primarily I've been working with Levi, who's a really dope producer. We've got a song out called Part-Timer, but we've been working really hard, and I've been, you know, recording songs in here. I even went over and recorded some stuff with him, and we've just been back and forth with files. I've been sending him vocals. He's been sending me beats. I've been sending him lyrics and everything like that. So shout out to Levi, and shout out to all the other amazing producers that I've been working with who have been sending through beats. But this spreadsheet is pretty much an outline of how I want this year to go. You'll see that there's a tab there that says distributed on both sides. And you'll also see that there's like 2 separate sections. So that first half on the left, a series that I'm calling Rent Free. And the series on the right is called Shoot and Score. And I'm really proud of these names that I've given these series because, you know, it's kind of like multiple meanings in the one thing. So the reason why I called it Rent Free is because that is the ethos of this entire thing. I'm trying to achieve rent-free status where I don't need to pay rent. I'm trying to do this full time. I'm trying to generate enough revenue from music and artistry that paying bills isn't going to be a problem anymore. I can own a house. I can become a homeowner, and have a physical thing that I can pass on to my kids for generations. And that's something that I'm aspiring to live rent free. But I also want to live rent free in the heads of all of my compadres, or whatever you want to call them, my peers, rent free in the minds of my audience and the people that listen to me, because my bars are so dope that it just is ingrained in their minds. So there's that aspect too. But then the word free, is short for freestyle, because a lot of these tracks are just straight bars, just where I'm uninhibited by the idea of trying to make a hit. My main concern is just trying to spit as well as I can and focus on lyricism a little bit more compared to the other side, shoot and score, which leads me to shoot and score. So the reason why it's called shoot and score is because I've had some great experience over the past year, working on songs for different licensing and sync opportunities. And for those of you who don't know what that means, basically that is where people create songs for the opportunity to be placed in film, television, video games, different sorts of media, ad spots and things like that. And me and Iconic Beats, we have been working on a couple different songs over the past couple of years to get some of those opportunities. We haven't been successful yet, but the reason why I've called it shoot and score is because, shoot and score is kind of like it's a sports terminology, right? Basketball, soccer, all of that stuff. You shoot to score, shoot and score, all of that. So it's a sports terminology because most of the time when I'm trying to get these licensing opportunities, it usually has something to do with sports. Recently, we tried to submit some songs for the Madden 24, Madden 25 soundtrack. NBA 2K soundtrack's another one. So it's got that sports mentality. But then the other thing is, we're making music that people can shoot films to and score, and the music can act as the score for those films that they're creating. So there's double entendre there. But anyway, I probably sound like such a dork, like explaining that. But that's the two lanes that I'm trying to occupy over 2025. I want to have 12 songs that are going to hit the minds of people who are paying attention to lyricism and things like that, because that's a big part of who I am. I love geeking out over lyricism and songwriting and things like that. But then I also have that side of me that just wants to hear a song with massive horns going and big drums and just loud vocals that are going to pump me up and make me want to run through a wall, something I can work out to. And that's what the shoot and score aspect is too. So that's how I feel about that. That's what's happening next year. You'll see that there's one song on its own called Switch Up that's dropping on the 27th. I told you guys about that at the start. That's what's happening there. And you'll see on the distributed columns there's green and there's some red. So the green are the songs that are already completely finished, artwork, master, sent off to distribution and already at the platform. So Spotify, Apple Music, they've already got those songs. Some of those songs aren't coming out till October, but they're finished, they're ready, it's out there, all ready to go. And the ones that are red are still in the works. So my goal now is just to start finishing them. And shout out to Levi, if you see this, we're on the way, we're trying to finish this up. I'm running out of time here. That's why I'm starting to speed up my speech. But this is my plan for 2025. And we're going to flood the internet with a bunch of content and stuff like that. And I hope you guys are as pumped up about that as I am, because, the work doesn't stop here. The album is out now, but the work is just beginning. We're at the starting point, at the epicenter of this thing that we're trying to do right here. So thank you again for joining me on this journey. Thank you for listening to the album. Thank you for watching this. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And one more time, if I haven't made it clear, I'm so grateful to you guys. And don't forget, my favorite 3 words in the world. Together, we move.